Greetings, everybody, and welcome to G4G on YouTube. As this is being recorded on Sunday, September 12th, the original recording date was September 11th. I would like to take a moment in this video, like I did in the previous video, to have a moment of silence to recognize those who lost their lives on 9/11, 2001. Being a former New Yorker, of course, 9/11 hits extremely close to home to me as I watched the events of that day unfurl from being at work in a skyscraper in Richmond, Virginia. And we evacuated because we had no idea what was happening, but that was a day. I can only imagine those who were younger and children. My generation, we had the Challenger blowing up. We had fall of the Berlin Wall. We had things that did not quite exactly compare to 9/11. I can only imagine what it was like to be a child and watch that day go down in infamy the way that it did. But on to the topic at hand over here. What do celebrities like Henry Cavill, and Mila Kunis, and Dave Chappelle, and Ronda Rousey, and Tyrone Woodley, and even potentially Jamie Lee Curtis all have in common? Well, these celebrities are all gamers. You can even throw in Snoop Dogg on that list. Jamie Lee Curtis, I don't know if she is actually a gamer, but she likes to go to BlizzCon dressed up in Blizzard characters incognito. So if you've ever been to a BlizzCon, there is a good chance you have potentially walked by Jamie Lee Curtis and not even know it. Well, the reason why I'm talking about this is this Camilla Tominey from the Telegraph out in England wrote an article that grown men shouldn't be wasting their lives playing video games. And because the link, even if you do it through an incognito mode, it is behind a paywall. You can just go to webarchive.org, and I'll put a link to it in the description, and you can read it here for free. And the title is Grown Men Shouldn't Be Wasting Their Lives Playing Video Games, and we will get to this quote in just a moment. So traveling on the tube, the subway, can be patronizing business at the best of times, with all those reminders about minding the gap, and in COVID times wearing a mask, leaving a safe space, as if that's really possible during rush hour. Passengers are reminded to carry a bottle of water when it's hot. Is this even really necessary? Yet it seems even the Underground's advertisers are intent on infantilizing their customers. The Nintendo advert has been plastered across the network for some time, featuring grown men and women playing the, quote, Switch device. I don't know why she has to put quotes around it. It's not a figurative thing. It is a literal thing. Playing the Switch device that is a favorite with my 8-year-old daughter. Hashtag set playtime free. It appears to make the false assumption that most commuters like to while away their spare hours playing Mario Kart, Minecraft, and Pokemon. Doesn't Nintendo realize that only adults who still use the word playtime post-puberty aren't the types to be found on the tube? They are the overgrown school children riding around outside on e-scooters, and then she likes to talk about how thin she thinks she is and how active. So this heartless, lifeless harpy of a shrew over here thinks that grown men shouldn't be playing games. And really, specifically the Switch. And you may say, well, wait, what do you mean specifically the Switch? Down here, in one of her replies, she tries to back things down a little bit and say, I don't mind gaming, but the Switch? Come on. And throughout the article over here, she goes on to say that she basically thinks the Switch is extremely juvenile. But she does still, obviously, in the original article, just bag on adult gaming. When I was growing up, I think even before I was born, my parents had Sears Pong. I actually still have the Pong console. It is sitting in the closet in my house. I have held on to that treasured relic for a long time. At some point, they got an Atari 2600. I don't know particularly if it was a gift to me, if it was Christmas, a birthday. I think it was Christmas because I think I opened cartridges first, and they were making it seem like I could bring the cartridges to my friend's house who had one, and then eventually I did open an Atari 2600 like later on. So I guess it was a gift to me, but it was a family console. My mother, at least, liked Frogger. Definitely on the family level, we played Sequest, we played Pitfall. I would eventually get an Atari 400 computer from a family friend. My dad and I would program together on that thing and save games on tape. Because back in the days, they would release games in code in magazines, and you would pick up the magazine, and you would turn to where the game is, and you would just start typing in the code of the game. So it was early programming without understanding actually really kind of what you were doing. And now my mother is an extreme Candy Crush type person. She's up at like level 2000 something. So to think that adults haven't been gaming is kind of ridiculous, and I think really what we're viewing here is that she has unfairly pegged the Nintendo Switch as being a kiddie console. And you could imagine a world where this mistake happens because, well, Nintendo. And you do see things that seem bright and happy, like Pokemon, and Mario-related games, and things of that nature. But as Unmasked Joker here in the comments points out, how about trying on the Switch Persona 5, Corpse Party, Doom Eternal, Bayonetta 1 and 2, Catherine Full Body, even Quietus, Ender of Lilies is darker. You have Ultimate Marvel Alliance on there. The Switch obviously is tagged to Nintendo, and it is probably one of the more kid-friendly consoles overall, but everybody likes the Switch. And to think that people would be playing a Switch on a commute, which I totally see if you trust the people around you and think that you're not going to get mugged for it. The way, if you go back in the 90s, if you were wearing a good pair of shoes, you might get mugged for it. If you believe in the sanctity of your surroundings, if I had an hour commute in a subway, I honestly think the Switch would be great for it. Look at what happens with controllers that will shoulder a phone in today's day and age. They mostly turn your phone into a device that looks a lot like a Switch. There are some that kind of go PSP-ish, and there are some that kind of do their own visual aesthetic to it, but most controllers that you can flank a phone with wind up making the phone look like a Switch. And there are some that are really pro that have like the extra shoulder buttons if you're playing like PUBG and Fortnite, and the Call of Duty ones that are removable. But this article is just so ridiculously off base. Imagine Tyron Woodley, famous UFC fighter who routinely streams Twitch games. Imagine Snoop Dogg, who holds, I think it was Madden streams. Imagine him reading an article like this. I mean, yeah, okay. Snoop has a little bit of issues. Like, he was streaming for about 3 days, and his mic was muted, and it took a friend who had come across his stream to come over to his place and actually like fix his rig before he realized he was on mute the whole time because he wasn't paying attention to chat. But imagine somebody like Henry Cavill, who makes women moisty in the crotchy, reading something like this, and imagine him responding to her and what her reaction would be. I mean, the man built a computer from scratch, if I remember correctly. And, he's Superman, and he's the Witcher. And there was a guy down here by the name of SkillUp who pointed out that, okay, imagine grown-ass men wasting their lives on video games when they could be devoting an entire career to talking about the royal family. Because that's what her byline is. And she's like, hello, you did see that I mentioned politics, or are you too busy playing Mario Kart? Not a real dunk there. And this is so ridiculously unprofessional over here. You say that you're a reporter for the Telegraph and everything, and she quotes him saying, punching down, and then mentions, okay, don't let me keep you from playing with yourself over here, which obviously has a multiple entendre. Haha, Harvey Birdman. This is so, I am really, really surprised she posted something like this. This is not something you really should be posting if you are representing yourself from a particular company. Like, this is a user-to-user type post over here, not a professional to somebody. And this guy's actually been, fairly nice to her in his response and has pointed out some things that the two of them can play on the Switch together. See, her big thing is that she has an 8-year-old daughter who really likes the Switch, and that is where she gets most of her information from. And this guy points out, you got so triggered, you responded to him about covering the Royals, and this guy's the only one that has managed to get your attention for that. My comment on her was wow, imagine waking up one day and deciding to just go outside and sit on this grenade. Here's a good point over here. Look at the global revenue of the entertainment industry. For gaming, it's $145 billion. And box office is the next closest at only 42. And you gotta wonder if the Switch is right here at the borderline of mobile and console. Where does the Switch actually belong? It probably is in the console. But I definitely think it has roots in mobile. And, this guy talking about perpetuating the stereotypes, there's always this mentality out there. And I would think in 2021, it is growing to its smallest levels ever. It is shrinking to its smallest levels ever. I have lived through the ages where Dungeons and Dragons people are the bad guys, and they're Satan worshipping, and they're doing weird things in the woods at night, and heavy metal is Satan worshipping and is the bad guy, and D&D players were the bad guys. And then games really started to rise at home, and the gamers were the no social life gamer nerd types playing in their family basement. The Anthony Michael Hall 80s characters in Weird Science and 16 Candles. That was what was generally tagged as being the gamers. And then it started to balance a little bit in the 90s, and now you have women making up nearly 50% of gaming, and adults make up nearly 50% of gaming. Here's some stats. So in 2020, the gaming industry generated $155 billion, pretty close to the last graphic we saw. 46% of all gamers are 36 or older. because they have the disposable income, and that's true. 46% of all gamers are female. Um, let's not forget gaming music was used in opening ceremonies of the Olympics, and you have the Final Fantasy orchestra that tours the world and has major events in like Chicago and things like that. How about you let your kid play Doom, Diablo, Mortal Kombat, and The Witcher on the Switch, and we'll talk about kids' games. Um, it's really sad to see this stereotyping still alive. And she's got somebody who's 8 years old. I'm going to say maybe that's the oldest. So Camilla herself doesn't seem to be that old. I would imagine she's not older than me. She should have lived through this stuff already. I mean, I honestly feel my generation was the last one who really walked a very interesting line where you could have been somebody who wound up being a gamer or proficient in technology, or you could have fallen a little bit on the other side and not really dove into those things. My generation did not start with the internet. It arrived part of the way into it. So there were definitely people who could fall on either side of the speed bump there. The generation after mine, they know nothing other than post-internet invention world. And they are more likely to be tech savvy because tech is everywhere. I mean, cars have tablets built into them now. Electric cars, basically everything is run through a tablet. They've never seen a rotary phone or a cassette deck or a record player or an 8-track. I mean, 8-track really wasn't me, but or if you said the phrase "cassingle" to them, they would be like, What the hell is a cassingle?" So I feel she's probably somewhere more in the generation that has always had the internet, if not really, really close to when she was super young. This is just such an archaic and dinosaur-related take over here, and it is really, really sad to still see people thinking that way. And there is so much mental health involved in gaming. Yes, it could be bad mental health. You could have somebody who is very, very addicted to games. You could have somebody who is obviously fitting the stereotype of the basement gamer, the that which has no life from the South Park episode. But if you take a person who puts in an incredibly stressful, solid 8-9 hours a day, and they come home and they want some form of entertainment to just feel better, if they want to be otherworld distracted, they really want to dive into something like that, that's fine. Or they could just be distracted on a more lighter level where they know absolutely the outside world is still there, but they just want to do something that they are in control of and play. That is mental health, to have that stress reliever. And I think to take that away, or to be thought of as, oh, I really shouldn't be doing this because I'm a grown-ass man, I shouldn't be a gamer, I think that's ridiculous and detrimental to mental health. And what about these people who have busy, lucrative $1 million careers like Snoop Dogg and Ronda Rousey before she got knocked out twice? And, I mean, even somebody like Jamie Lee Curtis, who was considerably older than me, if she's running around BlizzCon as Blizzard characters or World of Warcraft characters, I'm pretty sure that's an indication she has some vested interest or stake in it by having played it. I doubt she's just cosplaying. Like, I don't think she threw a dart on the board and said, oh, we're going to BlizzCon today. Let me go find out what an orc looks like. It's... Gaming is so much more than I think this woman totally intends she might find it weird that I know people who have met in video games and have gotten married and had families and kids. I have been together with my girlfriend for 11 years through World of Warcraft. We know people here in our town who met through my World of Warcraft guild and got married, and we were invited to their wedding. We have witnessed relationships bloom through my guild and relationships end, and people get married, people have children. We've watched, we've seen birth in the time that my guild is alive. We've unfortunately seen a few deaths along the way, but to her that might seem like you met another person through a game and now you guys have a relationship. Are you kidding? And I would fire back and say, hey, there are people who go on Russian bride sites, and there are shows dedicated to people having ridiculously remote relationships with people in other countries. That 90 Days to Wed on whatever network that's on. My mother watches that, and sometimes when I visit my parents, she's watching that. So I've seen some episodes of that passively. It's such a ridiculously stupid take, this woman's article, and I truly do believe she just threw a grenade out the door and then sat on it. And really, if I had a public form of transportation that lasted, a half hour to an hour, to make it viable, I absolutely would have a Switch with me. I mean, I also some days may use a phone and do all the mobile games that I do, like Marvel Strike Force and DC Legends and the other Marvel Duel, the other games that I play and everything. But I definitely, if I believed if it was safe, I would bring a Switch with me. And I don't think I would be that embarrassed anymore. Maybe in the beginning I'd be like, this is a little... I hope this isn't viewed weird that I'm just whipping out a game console over here and playing. But you know what? If that made that hour seem like 30 minutes or 20 minutes or something, I absolutely would take that Switch out and play it to get over that, 30-minute, hour-long commute on public transportation. But what do you guys think? I mean, do you think this is a ridiculous take? Do you think this is one of the stupidest things you've ever read? And, how is it that you have no knowledge that there are even extremely well-known stars out there who have been gamers throughout their years? I mean, anybody who was revealed to be associated to World of Warcraft, that right there obviously classifies them as a gamer. I mean, I know Mila Kunis definitely was, Dave Chappelle, Ronda Rousey, Henry Cavill admitted he almost didn't go to his Superman tryout because he was busy raiding. He almost missed the call. I thought it was Brandon Routh at first. It turned out, no, it was actually Henry Cavill. I mean, to think that dude builds his own PCs, he's in a Netflix series that's based on a game, the revelation that he was a World of Warcraft player, I mean, it's kind of amazing. Snoop Dogg streams on Twitch. That's pretty crazy in my mind, and I think puts a good public face to gaming and shows that no matter what you do in life, it's very easy to be a gamer in this day and age. You may not be hardcore, you may not be super technically savvy like Snoop streaming for 3 days and not even knowing he was on mute, but, to each their own on that. So what's your take on it? And what interesting adults are gamer stories do you have? I mean, have you been part of a long-running group of people and seen crazy things over the years, like, being in an MMO with a guild of people for so long? Like, what's your gaming social circle like? And what do you think of the article? Thanks for watching, everybody, and have a good one.